Hey guys, thanks for joining me. And if you like what you see, please subscribe.
Hello, peoples. Welcome to Sharp Ends. So today I'm going to talk about why I do and why I don't buy knives. By that I mean like a specific knife. Why do I buy a specific knife and why do I not buy another specific knife? Um, the first reason why I buy a knife is because it is a work of art. It is something that I absolutely think looks really nice and is functional. So sometimes when I buy a knife, I'm buying something that is strictly just a functional, everyday carry kind of tool. And it doesn't have to be expensive. It can be something like the Centurion, which I think is one of the best knives to come out last year. $50, 14C28N. It's a functional tool and it screams knife and it just works really well. And it's big like my big hands, and it's great. One reason I don't buy a knife is because it's totally whatever the name of the game is that week. By that I mean is like the this baby Banter. I mean, I do have an example of it, but I have it because it has this great freaking scales. But I had a few different. I had some of these baby Banters when they first came out, and they were what was really cool for about 3 or 4 weeks last summer. And then I quickly realized that they just weren't for me. They're too small for my big mutton hands. And even though I tried to give one to my wife so that she could have one in her purse to open boxes at work with, she just didn't want it. And I ended up just giving away or selling all of my baby Banters. And that kind of taught me the lesson that, like sometimes if you see something online and its media post is everywhere, you don't have to buy into it. You can, if you want to, I guess you can get one and then pass it on or whatever. If you are going to get something like this where, I got this because I thought the scales were really funny and I liked that I had this Ultim bead and it was like a little build that I could do and I thought that this looked cool. But honestly, I never carry this. I just have this in my collection because I think it's cool. But in general, baby banters or I should say knives like that are like really that are gonna a flash in the pan and then they kind of disappear. That they are what they are, but it's a reason why I don't necessarily buy a knife immediately if I think that it doesn't going to fit one of my specifications. The reason why I do buy a knife is because it is something in the knife community that is classic that everyone has. By that I mean like everyone has Chris Reeves knives, right? And I figured if I was going to have a knife YouTube channel, I had to have a Chris Reeves knife just so that I could say I understood what it felt like, what its action felt like, what everyone talks about it being hydraulic, right? So that's a reason to have this knife or something like, the Hinder Eclipse, right? Um, or the Hinder 8 XM18, which I also have. But, something like this, right? Overbuilt, American made. Not necessarily my style all the time. But again, if I'm going to be doing this on YouTube, I should know exactly what a Hinder XM18 feels and looks like, right? So another reason why I don't necessarily buy a knife is because you've come out with the latest sprint run. Seems like a lot of the knives, and this is for Hinder as well, but like Spyderco, and I pulled out for my example of this is the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Every week, one of those sites has some kind of sprint run coming out for a Spyderco Paramilitary 2, and there's some people who exclusively collect just one type of knife. It seems like, at least according to their Instagram, and I find that absolutely insane. But it's not me. To each their own. Whatever. I have an example of a paramilitary too, and I did get the sprint run that I wanted. It was the S90V version DLC, right? But I had this build in mind. I knew what I wanted. I have one example. Now I've probably owned 10 paramilitary twos, but I've sold them all. That was when I was first getting into the game, and it was easy to sell a paramilitary two, PM2 from Spyderco. It's just there's those people out there who collect nothing but. So that's another reason why I won't necessarily buy a knife is because it's just another sprint run of a knife I already have. And yes, it looks cool, or the steel might be different, but honestly, how many Spydercos does one man need? In my case, the answer is 6. I currently own 6 Spydercos, just in case you were curious. A reason why I do buy a knife is because it's a new, original, strange. This is a gravity knife from Riot Exo, right? And this took over the world last year. This is the long guy, the old version, not the one with the M-lock or the pocket clip. So not very practical, but it's a work of art and it's brand new. And not brand new, but it's something that hasn't been seen before. It's LMAX steel. I mean, when I had the opportunity to buy one, I took it with both hands and jumped. I'm not going to be that. This is going to stay in my collection forever. Any knife that I've had, this knife I get off every single time I post a video that includes this knife, someone offers to buy it from me, and for good reason, because I was there at the right time, and I think this is an excellent version of this knife. So that's awesome. I'll buy it because it's new and it's original and it's different. And another version of that same kind of thesis is the Factor, right, from Winterblade Co. All magnetic driven, right? Listen to that sound. Just great. This knife is original in so many different ways, and it's actually one of the reasons why I now follow Brian Winters and why I'm going to buy all of his knives, because they're all unique in some way. So uniqueness is the reason why I'll buy it. No reason why I won't buy a knife is because it came out in a new material that's high end, and by that I mean, and this I'm showing you an example of exactly what what I usually don't do. This is the Echo and steel and low, but I think this was $40, $45, right? Version of this. I did love this design though. Usually, people when they do come up with a high-end version, and this is the S90V version of the same knife, I won't buy the high-end version. I mean, why would I do that? There's already a great version out there that's budget, and it's a good example for me. The only way that I would ever break that is if the design really, really, really spoke to me. And in that case, this is what happened. I absolutely love this. I'm glad that there's an S90V version of it with these beautiful and scales on it in contouring and clip and stuff like that. Also, it's by Ray Laconico, so that kind of goes into my next reason. But that being said, in general, I'm not going to buy your high-end version of a knife just because you came out with something. But that leads me into my next reason why I will buy a knife. I will buy a knife because there's a designer out there that I absolutely love. And there's a couple of them like that I will just buy anything that they sell. And one of them is Ray Laconico. Absolutely love Ray. And it doesn't really matter if he's making a $65 mini Caviso 14C28N or a much higher end Alliance Design Easy E Integral. I'm pretty much going to buy what he is making because I follow him. So yeah. So now I only have a couple of more reasons left, and they're all ones why I will buy a knife. And that is because they make me laugh, or they make me happy, or, they're not necessarily practical, and they're not necessarily unique. I mean, this is unique, right? This is the Ahab. This knife makes me happy. It's a budget knife. I don't think many people out there appreciate how good this knife is, how tall and thin behind the edges, how nice the scales, the things are. I like the fact that the scales are changeable, although they never made scales to swap these out. But I like this knife. Super cheap, very sharp, easy to use, and it's not popular, but I like it. And then the Proponent is another good example. That both of the examples for this happen to be artisan cutlery, but this knife makes me laugh and smile every time I see it. The thing is freaking ginormous, and when I hand it to someone and say, "Hey, do you want to look at my knife?" and they open this up, they will laugh and smile and genuinely belly chuckle because this knife is great. And I love Dirk Pinkerton. I think his designs are great. But this is the biggest slab of S35VN, except for my kitchen knife, that I could possibly own. And this titanium is just ginormous. I mean, it's just a... So, things that make me laugh or that are unique, again, I will buy that. And then I guess just a last kind of thing why I'll buy a knife. Because it speaks to me. Like this knife right here, just screams knife. It's light, and this was kind of like one of my earliest grails because I saw Nick Shabazz talking about the Neutron at the time, and before the Atom came out, and then the Atom came out. my hands are much bigger than his, so I still have this Atom, and I absolutely love it. Machining on it is great, American made. I really like it. Um, and here's another example of something that just really speaks to me. This is the Pulsar, not necessarily um, as popular as the other knives that they make, like the Padre or the Django, but I absolutely think the Pulsar, with its blade shape and its polished DLC, is and these colorway scales, absolutely gorgeous, and it just speaks to me and says, I need you. Action is incredible. I just love this knife so much. I really wish I could carry it more, but I have too many knives. And finally, on that front, I've got the Redunción 229. Seems like there's a lot of them out there right now. This is the kickstop version. And, I just like this knife a lot. Again, speaks to me. Blade shape, hollow grind, kickstop, action, kick. It just all around speaks to me. So that's the reason why I will buy a knife. So in general, I focus just on why I'll buy a pocket knife. I didn't really go into the fixed blade stuff, although I could have, but I didn't. In general, though, those are the reasons why I do and don't buy a fixed blade. What are some of the things that maybe I said that you disagree with or that you agree with? I'd really love to know your opinion about this. And if you think I'm crazy or if I should think about something differently, I also appreciate that feedback as well. So if you could like and subscribe and leave a comment, it really helps the channel. And if you want to be entered to win a knife of the month, all you have to do is support me by clicking on the YouTube membership or down below the Patreon membership. Thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate your support. And I'll see you next time on Sharp Ends. Bye-bye now.